Ready to begin? Then let's begin. Hello. Welcome here. Thank you so much for joining us for a conversation about the Dreaming City today. We are Team Bungie, and before we get started, we need to take a very important census. So with as much noise as you can possibly make, tell us, how many hunters do we have in the room today? Titans.
Yeah!
Warlocks. And for those of you that didn't know that this was going to happen and took a minute to find your voice, I'm going to give the Hunters one more shot at redemption. Hunters? Titans? Warlocks? Who wins, do you think?
The Titans.
All right, Titans take... Oh, God. We're starting off on such a contentious
I was
foot.
biased.
We're thrilled to have you here. We love your passion, whether it's for your subclass or just being a Guardian in general. Today, we are going to talk about the Dreaming City. We have a dream team of Bungie developers, each to represent a team or discipline that they worked with to bring the first endgame destination to life in Destiny 2 Forsaken. Let me make some introductions down the line real quick. I am David Daig. You may know me from the internet as DeeJ, and I will be moderating this conversation along with Steve Cotton.
Hi, guys. Thank you for coming. I'm the game director on Forsaken. I get to work with these wonderful folks right here. Notice I didn't point this way.
You get to work with me, too. You don't work with me much.
And
I'm just over in my own little cave making the tweets.
And an amazing team at Bungie to help make Forsaken.
Mallory Schleif.
Hey guys, I'm a senior writer at Bungie. I was the narrative lead on the Dreaming City and just one of the many, many people that helped bring the destination to life.
And we have Andrew Hops.
How's it going? I'm the art lead on the raid team. We build the destinations and player experiences for raids.
And last but not least, we have Tom Farnsworth.
Hi everyone, I'm Tom Farnsworth. I was fortunate enough to be one of the design leads on Dreaming City, working with an amazing team, the likes of which I've never worked with before, and we were responsible for building the worlds and filling it with challenging activities and rewards. Thanks.
Fantastic. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to pass the clicker down the table. We've got some art, we've got some inspirations, concepts, and actual renders from the game to show you. We're going to take you through the full exploration of how we imagined this place and brought it to life. So, Steve, why don't you start us off with an exploration of what were the overarching goals all up for Forsaken and the Dreaming City?
Okay. I'll start by talking a little bit about what a game director does. I think it's different for every studio and every game. I think Destiny specifically, I felt like it was my job to be able to talk to the team about what Destiny is, and more importantly, what Destiny needed to become. And so we talked about the high-level goals for the game, for Forsaken. We had two high-level goals that drove every conversation and every big bet we wanted to make, and those were, we wanted to reignite the hobby of Destiny, and we wanted to recapture everyone's imagination. And so what that translated into is a bunch of bets that we were going to make on Forsaken. I called these big bets, worked with the team to define what those were. And there's different categories. A lot of times there'll be something I think the game needs to do, and then there's something we can afford to do, and then there's something the team is excited to do. And ideally, the best big bets are have all of those properties. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes the team's excited about doing something, we can't afford to do it. And sometimes I want to do something, the team's not excited about it. So I sort of navigate those waters, and we come up with the big bets that we wanted to make in Forsaken. And so some of those bets were things like a new campaign that had a different tone. The story, that we wanted to tell the story in a different way. The structure of the story was a bet that we made. And that was in line with recapturing the imagination. New ways to play, new fantasies, the 9 supers, the bow, Gambit was a brand new activity. We knew we wanted to do something new, something different, something that incorporated PvE and PvP, and so that was one of the bets we made there. As far as the hobby, the bet we made was that we wanted to bring back short-term, medium-term, and long-term pursuits for players, and they had agency over those pursuits. And that's where we kind of get into the Dreaming City. And the Dreaming City was one of the biggest bets we made. And I know you guys have probably seen that. We want to show you something in a second here. You've probably seen this. This is a trailer for the Dreaming City. We think it does a really good job of capturing what the Dreaming City was all about, but it's definitely one of the big bets we made for Forsaken, and we want to show you the trailer right now.
Roll it.
Peggy 16.
This is our most sacred place. Outsiders are forbidden. I want answers. No one was supposed to come back here until everything was safe. I want to kill whatever evil has crept into the Dreaming City.
I don't think click after the trailer.
There is an immense creature at the heart of this place. The fate of the Dreaming City is at stake.
Destiny 2, Forsaken, available now.
So when Steve talks about reigniting the hobby and recapturing the imagination, the Dreaming City is one of the strongest manifestations of those two goals, but this is something that we did not talk a lot about when we were marketing Forsaken, because player discovery is incredibly important when it comes to experiencing this content. But now that the game is out and some of you have hopefully unlocked the Dreaming City and had a chance to look around, we can talk a little bit more about what our inspirations were in creating this world full of mystery. So let's dig into that.
So I'll start us off talking about art, which I think really shows just the, sorry, I'm so nervous right now. Go ahead. So this is what we would call a postcard image, and this was one of the images that really inspired our artists, because you just show up on the Dreaming Shore, you see this huge wall, massive door, and it's kind of this dreamlike state, and that really begs like exploration, I think, and that really inspired our artists to kind of create just places to explore, and our designers encouraged that as well. Then we started looking at the higher level destination. So what does the entire destination look like? What's its relationship to the Dreaming Shore? We started exploring amethyst was a theme that we really liked, and how that worked into this kind of geode, which if you're familiar with the Dreaming City, you've probably seen a lot of. This is another concept that really explores the dreamy quality of Dreaming City. We were also trying to pursue this juxtaposition to the Tangled Shore, which was very cold, neutral tones, and the Dreaming City was much more magical, I would say.
This is also the first time we've seen evidence of a unique culture within Destiny. And the Dreaming City, as you can see by the statues that the art team created, epitomizes a culture that we haven't had a chance to explore, the culture of the Awoken.
So this was one of the first concepts that really started digging into the architecture. we were leaning into Art Nouveau, which is curvy lines. You're probably familiar with like very elven-looking art. And we started realizing that it could get a bit noisy. And that's when we started pulling in some inspiration from Art Deco, which is more geometric shapes. And I think this was the first image that really nailed the feel of what we wanted to go for, which was a marrying of Nouveau and Deco. It's early Deco, and also playing with nature as architecture. And this, again, is where we started bringing in the dreamy quality of the other concepts with this architecture to see what that felt like. And as I said before, nature as architecture is very big. In the rest of Destiny, you'll notice nature ascendant was a theme, and here's where it started really playing into the structure of the world. This was one of the concepts that I think nailed what we wanted to do in the interiors of the spaces. Big geometric shapes with finer Art Nouveau details.
This was also one of the points where the design team finally had like palette in our hands. Palette is basically Legos that we can use to build the world. And if you look in this image, you'll see repetitive shapes. Like there's a circle on the floor, there's stairs around the outside, the columns. We could really use those to like have fun and build the world like little kids in a candy shop. Like we've got an amazingly talented palette team who runs ahead of us using the concept you've seen to build these, to empower us to build a larger world quickly and at quality, and you know, to fulfill these fantasies, make a mysterious world.
Yeah.
There's another thing that is easy to talk about after the fact, because you guys have already seen the Dreaming City and how it kind of turned out. But early on, when we're thinking about this place, like these are concepts, and these are the things that get us excited about where we might go. Like this is, you see these things, and I don't know, when I see these images, I'm just like giddy with what the possibilities that we can do there and like the stories you can tell. And so, I mean, yeah, definitely when I'm looking at, these are the early stages. This is what gets people excited. And then what the amazing thing about the art team at Bungie is that they can take a concept that looks this amazing and they can end up with a place that actually ends up looking better than the concept, which is not usually how it works, so.
Yeah, our art team behind the scenes is amazing. Our Skies team, lighting team, palette team, they kick butt on all this stuff. This, actually, a real quick question. How many people here have beaten the raid?
How many people here have beaten the raid is the question.
Is it any hands?
I see
two
hands.
There's a couple in the back. Nice.
How many
Nice
people
job.
watched the raid?
So jealous.
Yeah.
Watch the raid, okay, good. So it's waiting for you.
You may recognize this space. This probably went a little too far deco, but we liked what it was doing with the space. We were trying to figure out what player cover would look like in one of the final Riven rooms. You can kind of recognize where that's from.
You can also see that things changed a lot along the way. You're seeing things that were obviously in progress. If you see the final space, you'll see geode, amethyst, much darker tones. And there'll be something much bigger in the middle you're familiar with, but we don't want to spoil for people who haven't gotten there.
That's over to you?
Yeah. I also had the opportunity to collaborate with the art team and Mallory on the Oracle engine, which is part of our weekly ritual. You go to Petra, you fight in the blind well, you earn this offering, you take it here, and you make a call out tomorrow. And this was one of the early concepts we used to inform building that space, the tower and the spine of Caries.
And this was also helping us figure out how energy moved through the Dreaming City. That played into a lot of the parallaxing, curved monitors you'll see around the Dreaming City. Which then played into this light lattice work that we also did.
So the art team came to narrative and design with those really incredible concepts, and the way that we develop story at Bungie is often a collaboration where someone will put forth an idea and then other teams have to react to it. And in this case, we were given a really incredible place to start from because they gave us a place that was clearly full of history, that clearly had stories to tell, and it's an opportunity to explore the Awoken culture, which players have had a chance to kind of like skirt around the edges of ever since D1 when you went to the Vestian Outpost, but never an opportunity to actually see how they live and what they're all about behind the scenes because they have that very guarded exterior. And so we wanted to capture a real sense of exploration and mystery when the player landed on the destination for the first time, to really embody the feeling that they were discovering this place as the first Guardian to ever set foot in the Awoken homeland. And so this is the first moment in Awakening, the first mission in the Dreaming City. Did you want to jump in, Steve?
No, just because I put my mic up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. This was actually something that was pretty important to me too. That when you got into the Dreaming City, that you didn't actually understand where you were right away. But the art team, like had this idea of like these rocky, misty shores that you could like navigate through before you even saw the first tower kind of come out of the fog, and that I think that just embodies what the Dreaming City is all about, all up, right? Like there's just so many mysteries under the surface, and even when you land there, the first thing you're doing is figuring out what this place is like. So.
Yeah, so we wanted to use Awakening as a kind of sampler for the whole package of what the player might experience over the lifetime of the Dreaming City, from exploring the mists and wondering what might be out there, whether it's collectibles or hidden enemies, to discovering familiar friends who have been taken and corrupted by an unknown evil, to descending into the Ascendant Plane, which is our hell, effectively, and being led across a chasm by a wandering spirit, Tolan the Shattered, to finally catching up with Petra, who you've established a relationship with over the course of the campaign, and standing with her to ultimately speak to Marasov, who is actually alive. And then being released into the open world to go join Petra as she takes it upon herself to defend this place. And as you guys may have seen in the last week or two, after World's First raid completion, the Dreaming City has now changed. The Dreaming City has been afflicted by a curse. This is a capture from the cinematic that was unlocked right after the raid was completed for the first time. And we're excited to be telling a story on a destination that can evolve over time and truly respect player impact in the world. So the world is changing, missions are opening up, and new activities as well. This is a capture from the strike that opened up after the raid was completed, and for the first time in that strike, we are actually saving one of our bosses, and she ends up joining the world, there we go, as a patrol giver who can teach you more about the destination and lead you to places that you might not otherwise understand the significance of. These are some statues. No, like, I talked a little bit about this when Hops was talking, but the art team presented us with evidence of a culture that was very old, and so that created an interesting problem for the narrative team because as we understand certain timelines within the universe, we said, whoa, this seems like they've been around for a long time. How can we make that work? And then we found opportunities to weave that into our lore into a very, I think a very cool way that feels uniquely Destiny. It's a sci-fi mix. If you unlock the lore books, you'll be able to learn more about it. And we've also been interested in trying to embed more of that lore-driven narrative into the actual gameplay experience as you explore the world. So when you make your way into the Ascendant Plane, you'll run into a character, Toland, and he too will have thoughts and opinions about what's going on around you. And I'm gonna slide the clicker down to Tom now.
And one more thing, Mallory also did, and the NPC team did a lot of work to get those characters on our missions, to get Corsairs in the world. I think like Dreaming City all up has more lore than any destination we've ever built. And I think it really has been wrapped together in an exciting way that goes from the beginning of the campaign, which is a very personal story, to this like crazy galactic war with with Riven. I don't want to say what she is, but it was amazing to see
you can
that
say what you-
evolution over the course of the product.
I'm going to jump in real quick because there's something that Mallory talked about, and it's kind of it kind of seems like a given in hindsight that the Dreaming City ended up the way that it did, with you going there, and there was a premise that you were helping Mara, fight a war against the Taken, and that the curse was going to happen. But the Dreaming City wasn't always planned to be that, and so kind of a little secret insight into the development process is that the Dreaming City originally was, we were thinking of it as a continuation of the same types of destinations that we'd always made, where you go to a destination and you kind of play through some linear missions in a row, and it kind of exposes you to the world, and then what you're left with is a world that, you still have some corners and nooks and crannies to explore, but the mystery of that world's already kind of been told to you. And so there was a moment, I think it was maybe November of last year, it was sometime late last year, where we looked at the Dreaming City and we saw this potential in putting the player in a place and actually having the story of that destination be the player's own journey, about getting more powerful, about being able to overcome these challenges in the world. And the other thing that we realized we had a chance to do, because in that world the raid was at the end of the Dreaming City. It was you kind of made it all the way through the Dreaming City,
Yep.
and then the raid happened. And there was a moment where we realized, the raid's actually the thing that you care about at the beginning, and it could have an impact on the world that we're not realizing. And we want players to feel that impact. We want players to go into this world, change it for everyone. And as soon as we had that idea, the team got really excited and just went kind of crazy, actually, a little bit, in just trying to figure out what that meant. So I wanted to tell that little development story before we start talking about the curse, because the curse wasn't always the thing that it is today.
So the curse was our way of letting the world's first raid players kind of be the heroes in the community. And
the villains.
It benefits players that, beat the raid, obviously, a few of you. But everyone else who's playing. Dreaming City is kind of like, I wouldn't say it's endgame for everyone, but we expect all types of players to get there, and hopefully we can satisfy, like, if you're an explorer, or if you're a lore hound, or if you want to do weird little challenges or find cats hidden in dark corners, or take on really challenging endgame content. There's stuff for you there. And the curse is kind of at the center of all that. The curse gets unleashed when players beat the raid, and then it evolves over a 3-week cycle. And as that happens, as Mallory mentioned, like new content appears, new characters appear in the world physically changes, and there's some concept art here we're gonna step through that kind of shows the process of how we visually develop that.
Real quick, this is one of the concepts we were doing to figure out what the curse would look like when it affected the architecture. And this is the tower that the raid exists in, and so this was another way of looking at the relationship between the Dreaming City and the raid, because that was very important. And again, exploring various aesthetics, treatments of the Taken effect on that.
I choose C. I don't know.
And then moving closer to player scale.
A little closer.
And this is where we're looking at what it does look like as a player in the space and after the Taken curse has affected it.
Our artists had a lot of fun going in once we actually got the curse markup set up, and just putting this black, gross stuff all over the world. And this is kind of hitting at what you're going to see in the coming future. So we've talked a little about the creative direction, talked about the narrative, the art, how we put those things together. First and foremost, as Steve mentioned, Dreaming City was an endgame destination, and that meant a lot of things to us. At the pinnacle of that, it's all about challenging activities that grant powerful rewards that respects your time as a player. We don't want you to go in there and feel like you're stumbling around making any progress. We want you to feel like you can go to Petra and she can give you a few exciting things to do, like the Blind Well, which is a great example of that. It's challenging, it's arena-based. You can take your friends in, you can beat on some Scorn and some Taken, fight some awesome bosses, throw a ton of supers with your Harmony buff, and use your Blade Barrage like I like to do and like melt a boss in 2 seconds. And you can do that a few times, get an offering to the Oracle, make a phone call to Mara, and get some sweet loot. You might get an offering out of it. With a small offering, you can take that to a little kitty cat, and that cat will give you terrifying space weapons. And then along the way, you might run into any number of other things. So when you first get to Dreaming City, it's all open to you. Like, we start the game like with this very personal story of Cade, and you're kind of you're on the path to vengeance. And when you complete that, you hear about Dreaming City, you get this talisman, and you go on a journey to open the way. And when you get there, other than Petra like kind of guiding you, things are wide open. And that's a pretty big shift from earlier in the game. And some people might get there and be confused. You might get beat on a little bit too. The enemies there are a little challenging when you first start.
We wanted you to feel intimidated. We wanted it to feel hard again. The Taken captain in Cosmo in D1 was an inspiration for the Odinam, the bridge troll that players have been discovering in the various missions, and that's a little love letter to that. But you guys were definitely thinking of those types of nostalgic experiences, as well as the Dreadnought.
Yeah, and the Dreadnought is a direct inspiration for a lot of things in Dreaming City. We just tried to do it at a scale that we hadn't done before, and to do a breadth that we hadn't had the opportunity to do before. We even had some people on the team that had contributed to that in the past. So that was a great learnings we were able to take from them. I mentioned the blind well earlier. If you haven't been there and you're playing the game, you should try. You should take a pass at it. You can get your Seed of Light there, which will give you your second subclass. It's not that hard to get, and it's a lot of fun. There's also a little exploit right now. You know, it might go away soon, so you might want to get in there. And when you are playing through our content, you're going to get totally awesome armor. It's got this Awoken Night theme, and it's cursed. Almost everything in Dreaming City that you can get usually has a chase or a pursuit associated with it. So when you get the armor, you're not done. It's pretty awesome. It gives you this buff that lets you do more damage to the enemies in the world. We wanted to have destination-wide mechanics in the armor, and the little tinctures, the potions you can drink they're not quite Alice in Wonderland to make you big or small, but they let you see the secrets. They open your mind to the secrets of the Dreaming City. And all those lead to new things you can do that are like hidden beneath the surface, like the Ascendant Realm, which is our personal little hell in the Dreaming City that has a great contrast to the shining fantasy world that you're inhabiting. And here's just a few of the things you might run into. You can drink this tincture of Queen's Foil. I think Mallory wrote the text down there. Was that yours?
I certainly approved it. I don't think I actually wrote that. I think that might have been...
Could you read that in like a wizard voice, DeeJ?
A wizard voice?
Say again, what?
He wants you to read the flavor text on the tincture in a wizard voice.
The vicious liquid within
Viscous.
swirls and writhes as if searches for escape. There, was that good?
That was
Pretty
yeah,
good.
Don't put me on the spot
Very
like
Merlin.
that.
I like it.
And then because we had so much meat on the bones of Dreaming City, there's so many core activities like the Blind Well, the public events, the ambient patrols, missions, the raid, which is amazing and probably our best raid ever. And I can say I didn't work on that team. I'm an outsider. But there's also these secondary activities, right? There's these things that you can do, like I mentioned, like the Ascendant challenges, there's these portals. There's also cats. This wasn't the screenshot I wanted. I found one on the internet that was way better. And the cats, if you don't have an offering for them, they say you lack something.
The team was worried for a little while that was going to be too harsh, and then I said, no, it's going to be fine. And we let it out in the world like that.
Yep, it's fun. And then there's still more to come. And I think over time, the curse is going to keep changing the city. Keep playing. You're going to keep finding more things to do. I'm excited for next week. Excited for the future. Excited to do more things in the Destiny franchise, like the Dreaming City.
I know World Art had a lot of fun with the Ascendant Realm because it really let us break the rules.
In what ways, Mr. Hops?
The geometry is just so much more ambiguous. You can do a lot with it.
Like the Ascendant challenges, like that take place in the Ascendant Realm, you can see up there. Those were kind of inspired by Mario Challenge levels. Like if you've ever played like Super Mario Sunshine, or if you played the most recent Mario that came out, there'll be a little door, and you hop through it. And on the other side, you don't know what's going to be there. Usually it's really hard, but it's worth your time. And the Ascendant challenges that we have in Dreaming City were that you get a key, you find a portal, there's a little clue, you hop in, you get chased by terrifying knights from Taken King, and you get some sweet loot if you can make it through the other side. And we had one designer, Stephen Fogg, he was great. He was able to build those from these pieces, and with like him and just one or two other people in a way that was inspiring. Like I hadn't seen anyone move that fast and be able to build that breadth of content so quickly in our tools at that level of quality.
How many people have actually done an Ascendant challenge in the Dreaming City? All right, nice. Soloed it? Oh, impressive. All right, well, be ready for the ultimate Ascendant challenge soon.
It's coming.
Oh yeah, and this is a pretty picture of the Dreaming City, I think, to end the deck.
But not the talk.
No.
Yeah.
Next slide.
That's it.
It says the end.
It says Q&A. So this is a panel discussion, and in order to complete the ritual, we need to add your voices to the discussion. So as you can see here, X marks the spot. We're placing a microphone for all of you. If you would like to approach the microphone slowly but carefully. We would love to hear your questions. Hello.
Hello.
Love your Text Mechanica patch.
Thank you very much.
We would love to continue this conversation about the Dreaming City. Each person sitting at this panel table represents hundreds of talented artists and designers and engineers and testers, and everyone that works at Bungie contributed to this. But this is a great opportunity to ask them a follow-up question, enable them to elaborate on their work. So we'd love to keep the topic there. If we ask a topic beyond the Dreaming City, you'll get an answer from me, and you don't want that. So let's keep it rooted at the topic at hand, and please state your name and your preferred subclass.
Hi, I'm Yoni. I play a hunter primarily.
All right.
And short question, but being a completionist and wanting to get as many triumphs as possible, if you've got the Dreaming City that's changing constantly on a week per week, and you didn't get something on a week, can you go back and get Broken Courier Quest, your Ascendant Chests?
It'll come back around.
It will come
Just
back
if you keep
around.
playing, like I know there's like 65 triumphs or so, and it's worth it because there's a sweet title. Do you know what the title is called?
No.
Cursebreaker.
Ooh, cool.
There is one, what we call a feat of strength, that is time limited. So that will become clear in the next little while, I think. Just keep playing.
Okay. And are there any other future changes to the Dreaming City that you guys have planned, of like events, month time, year down the line that you'd like to do?
Keep playing.
Just stay tuned.
Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Forsaken's been great.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
question. And to summarize, if you are a completionist like that gentleman, you have not missed the bus. The Dreaming City will evolve and change, but it will come back around and you'll have additional opportunities.
Hi there, my name is Gavin, I play a hunter. So my question is kind of directed towards Tom as a senior designer. So obviously like the world, like Dreaming City, when you're building that, there's a lot of input that goes in from many disciplines like audio and narrative art and design. So obviously when you have like the content, I guess creators, but like making that stuff, like where do you find the balance of adjusting things like from the white boxing process and building everything up with the team and so many people?
I mean, as Steve mentioned, we had a pretty significant like refocusing on what we wanted to do in November, but we've been working on Dreaming City for nearly, it was over a year. Like we had people working on the art side of things, building the high level concept, while the rest of us were like, oh my God, how are we gonna figure out what these missions are gonna be and these activities and what the story's gonna be and how it all fits together. And as a designer, generally like, sometimes you go off on your own and you're in a corner, like coming up with ideas that you think are great, but you can't really do that. You have to be a collaborator, and you have to be able to take an idea, champion it, prove why it's good, even on paper, and then go to the artist, to the narrative team, to leadership, which we did with Dreaming City. We went through a very like high-level pitch process, so that it's like we want it to be an endgame destination, we want to change the world, we want so many other things. And once we hit that point, we really had like as a team gelled, and we knew what we wanted to do. And at that point, we just spent the last half of the project running. And I was just there to like help so many other talented creators just stay on track, make sure that what we were doing made sense. And there's things that, you know, not everything makes it out the door. But on Dreaming City, it was really surprising that we were able to get so many core things there and still have time for like the little delighters. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and congratulations on acquiring your Solstice of Heroes t-shirt. Up next, state your name and your preferred subclass, please.
Jack, and I'm a Warlock for life.
For life. Thank you, Warlock.
Always.
Speak your question.
I was just wondering, and I know you might not want to disclose too much, but what went into the artistic concepts behind Riven? Being an artist myself, I love the design, and I was just wondering where the themes might have come from.
That was the themes about, did you say Riven specifically?
Yeah, Riven,
Okay.
in regards to the design of the creature.
Themes and inspirations that led to Riven.
I don't know that I can speak directly to that.
Yeah.
Jamie Rowe came on board and was working on that pretty early.
She's
It
one of our
evolved.
concept artists.
What's that?
Concept artist.
Yep, she's our lead concept artist, and I know it evolved, but I can't speak directly to her design process there.
Okay. Fair enough.
I know looking over her shoulder, like obviously, Riven's a dragon. She's taken, which complicates things.
An Amankara. Right?
And then
Ahamkara.
I know looking over her shoulder, I saw kaiju. I saw other things.
Yeah.
I'll say from the raid side, obviously design had requirements of the boss, and that added to the design.
Okay.
I remember being at Jamie's desk looking at early concepts for the raid boss, who didn't have a name at that time, and remembering being really impressed by the kaiju-like qualities, the Cthulhu-like qualities, some references back to a hive feeling, shape language, but I'm just a writer.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think
Thank you very
it's
much.
fair to say that Riven was driven by mostly the raid, because the raid needed Riven as the final boss for the raid, and a lot of the Dreaming City happened as a result of the raid as well. The raid really drove the look and the feel and the vibe and the story behind what was happening inside that place, and then we elaborated outward and let the player figure it out for themselves. So.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please state your name and your preferred subclass.
Good afternoon. I'm Josh, and I'm a Titan. A personal highlight of D2 was the Whisper of the Worm. It was a beautiful map, if you like. And I was just wondering if there was any kind of future Whisper of the Worm-esque time-gated quest lines in the Dreaming City, because it strikes me as a kind of open... what we're trying to say. Basically, I can see a lot of links between the two, and I know the community loved it based on Reddit entirely, but I was wondering if, I'm rambling, but is there going to be more of that in the Dreaming
It's a
City?
difficult question to answer simply because, and yes, I'm answering your question. Sorry. I'm like, I got it. The Whisper of the Worm was, great piece of action. It required some cunning, it required some skill, it took you to some new places, it earned you new loot, but I think, and the team felt very strongly about this. For somebody who has access to tell you just about anything I want to tell you, the team felt very strongly that the Whisper of the Worm's best value was that no one saw it coming.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to answer your question right now, I would be fleecing those future moments of similar value. But I can tell you, and I'm sure you can back me up, that we do want Destiny to be a world that can surprise you. We do want Destiny to be a world that changes and evolves over time, and the Dreaming City has had some of the most specific physical manifestations of that. Previously, some of the best evolutions to the world would be when we would update the game with an expansion, like when we blanketed old Russia in snow when Rise of Iron came. Yes, when Rise of Iron came out. But with something like Whisper of the Worm or with something like the Dreaming City rituals, we do want to have the capacity to have the game surprise you and challenge you in new ways, but we also don't want to forecast when and where those things are coming so that you can have that same moment of, wait, what's going on? There's a new, what, where? I have to go to a public event where? And the community learns about these things and they rally to those things and have to work together to kind of figure out and almost crowdsource the solution together. So these are things we want to do more of, but we're not going to publish a roadmap about those things.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Brett, and I'm a warlock because they are the master race. Mine isn't particularly about Dreaming City, but I suppose I'll only get one chance to ever ask this. So, after a rocky first year for Destiny 2, I've played since the very beginning of Destiny 1, and I loved it. Destiny 2, I thought, was disappointing to start off with. But I must say, Forsaken is, I think I can speak for everyone, it's amazing. It really is good. Do you think now you've got the platform, you've got it set up now where, as such, things are only going to get bigger and better? Really, that's my question.
It's a good question. It's a great. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. I think we're all really happy with where Forsaken landed. It's everything that I was hoping it would be and more. We learned a lot along the way. We learned to listen to the community in a lot of ways. We had some other things that we wanted to do with the game that we were able to incorporate and improve on Destiny in ways that I don't think we saw coming. But at the same time, like, I think it is in a really good spot, and it's definitely in a place that we can see building on that success and those things that it's doing really well. As far as it getting infinitely bigger, that's tough to answer. So, but everything that hopefully everything that you're liking about Forsaken will continue to be a part of what makes Destiny amazing in the future.
And very quickly, the new escalation protocol type thing, I can't remember what it's called.
The Blind Well?
Will there be exclusive weapons and things like that added to it?
There are some fixed roles hidden in the Dreaming City. Has anyone got any fixed role weapons from the raid or from the Blind Well?
I haven't had any, but I just must be unlucky.
So you'll notice sometimes you'll get a drop from the raid or from Gambit, other sources where it'll be masterworked right off the bat, like level 10, and it'll have an amazing role.
I definitely haven't. That's just me unlucky, I think. But yeah, cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. 10 minutes remaining. Next question, please state your name and your preferred subclass.
Yeah, it's Cash and Titan all day, every day. My question is about the public events and the Scorn. What was the challenge and processes to implement them into the Dreaming City, but also to introduce a new public events into the Dreaming City?
What was the last part of that question? To introduce
the public events.
Oh.
Public events in the Dreaming City is the question. Who wants to tackle that? Probably Tom?
Was it about the Scorn in particular?
Yeah, so how hard is it to implement something like the Rift Generator public event?
Oh, the Rift Generator, okay. So we have a number of designers who specialize in specific types of activities, and there's a team called like basically the open world team, and they generally do like the ambient spaces, patrols, public events, and some people even specialize further than that. But for the Rift Generator, we wanted something in Strand is the name of that bubble that it's in on the dev side, that would be new to Dreaming City, like a unique public event. And we wanted to do tower defense. And I'm speaking for other people right now. I didn't work on it. And we went through a lot of different variations where we were trying to get the idea of lanes, very specific lanes with like turrets that you could start this Rift Generator and then defend. And hopefully it landed near that mark where it feels like you can just get your charge, throw it in there, hold a lane, then another lane starts up, and there's a cool little secret in there too with the heroic that hopefully like surprises people when you have a chance to pull it off.
That was an activity too that we knew design wanted in the destination from pretty early, and so then World Team can make sure they've got a good space for that. I think that was successful.
Cool, thank you. And can we have more edge transits, please? I haven't got enough of that.
Absolutely.
We know. Look at that. Listen to the applause for Edge Transit. Obviously, everyone's favorite weapon.
I haven't found
in the
an
Destiny
Edge
2
Transit.
sandbox.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, who's got one?
All right, next question.
Hi, my name's Jimbo, and I'm a warlock. My main question is, what goes through the development process with the raid? Because obviously, I think it was 18 people completed it in like 24 hours, 27 hours, or something like that. So does it go like the raid mechanics, then the design team, then like the gameplay elements, or what kind of process do you go through in order to make it, one, extremely hard for everyone to complete, and two, the style and the feel of it? What does one impact the other one, or is it kind of like an organic type thing?
Are you asking about the order of how we design?
So for example, does gameplay come first, and then you go with like the art style? Like for example, the first encounter.
We work in concert, but design will go through iterative process, and they'll actually work in separate maps, just building encounters, and then eventually we'll flow everything together.
Who designed the room, the mechanics room, where the throne room right at the end, just before the end boss? Because that is insane. Just wanted to say, love the whole thing with Forsaken, but yeah, that thing confused the hell out of me as well.
Sure, it's a team effort. There's a lot of us. We have designers who will own an activity, but so many people touch the raid.
All right, thank you very much. I love Forsaken, and keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the mic.
Hi there.
Hello.
I'm Alex. I play a hunter. I really love Blade Barrage, by the way. Great job on
Finally, a single hunter up here.
that. I also may have made a post because my gamer tags are conscious about guessing that Aldrin would shoot Cade, and everyone.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Closer to the microphone, please.
I may have made a post on DTG because my gamer tag on Reddit is Art Consular, and I guessed about the Aldrin shooting Cade, and people got very mad with me, so I might need an escort. But anyway, I just wanted to ask about the Dreaming City, in particular the sort of portal mechanics that combine the sort of tower in the Tangled Shore with the sort of gate thing that appears there and the portal inside the Dreaming City itself. Are there any key inspirations on how you came up with that, and what was your sort of direction you wanted to take, both in art and story terms?
I think Mallory can speak to this quite a bit, but I do have one thing that I was going to say early. It's a really good question. We actually wrestled with this like about a year ago when we were trying to tie the Dreaming City into the Tangled Shore. We knew we wanted to have a visual element that was kind of hinting at things to come. And the narrative was already kind of baked in that this watchtower was a way to get to the Dreaming City. But we spent a lot of time trying to think about exactly what you're asking about, which is how they're actually connected. The thing for me was that it was important that you had this thing that was off in the distance that you kind of saw early on that you weren't sure what it was, and it kind of culminated in that moment. And then that's part of the bridge. That's part of the thing that bridges you to the Dreaming City.
Yeah, the tower in the Tangled Shore is called the Watchtower, and as Steve says, it's so important as an aspirational element. So, like, you see a piece of Awoken architecture that looks very, very alien and foreign while you're wandering around the Tangled Shore, and you say, I want to go there, and we let you. As for the actual fictional mechanics, I think as you dive a little deeper into the lore and go on pilgrimages from Shirochi, there are clues about the various ways in which the Awoken have kind of transcended the technology that we have right now. And if you've seen Black Panther, one of the initial soundbite pitches for the Dreaming City was like Elven Wakanda, if you will. It's in the reef, it's shielded, and the portal is really the only safe way in and out. So.
That's a great answer. Me and my mate actually said Wakanda when we first went in, so
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. But thanks very much. I love Forsaken. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have been informed that our friend the Warlock here will be asking I'm kidding, I kid you. Our friend the Titan here will be asking the final question of the panel. Before he begins, can we please have a round of applause for some fantastic cosplay here? Nothing makes our artists happier than to see the characters that we've designed come to life walking around a building like this. So thanks for all the work and love you put into that.
Thanks for making such awesome models, for starters. So there's that. But hi, my name's Luke. Yes, I do main a Titan, as you might have guessed. I'm also a huge lore enthusiast, and I just want to start off by thanking you for putting the lore into the game so well. It feels so natural. And it's so good to just be able to go into your collections menu and browse through it and go into all the triumphs and stuff and look at the lore tabs. But one of the things that I'm curious, because I don't know if anyone here is familiar with My Name is Bife, but he's one of my best mates and I work with him quite closely, so a lot of his lore enthusiasm has rubbed off on me. We've been talking a lot about Savathûn lately as Shiva Arath, so I don't know how much you're allowed to say, but I noticed at the end of the new strike that came after Glad beat the raid, she mentions a she is out there.
So does Toland.
Yeah, is that Savathûn? Or is it Shiva Arath? Like, can you give me a hint?
So...
Are we going to see more of Savathûn in the future, basically?
What I will say is, as the manifestation of cunning, do you think she's stupid enough to stand in front of 6 guardians and be gunned down? I'll say that. There's a long tail story that some of you may have already seen little glimpses of since people have been poking around in the strings. But in the next week or so, that story will start, and it will continue for a long time. And it should give you guys a lot of things to theory craft about. So I look forward to all of the vigorous debate about Eris's true nature.
Awesome. Nice work on Forsaken, guys. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to summarize, based on that question, we're not done learning about the Dreaming City. We hope that you'll continue to explore it. Everyone in this room or anybody watching the stream, it's still a place with some mysteries and some secrets for you to discover. And we thank you for completing all of the hard work that we put into Destiny 2 Forsaken and the Dreaming City, because without all of you to go out and experience those things, it just wouldn't be worth all the hard work. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to thank all of you so much for standing in line and coming to visit with us. If you'd like, you can follow us back over to the Virgin stand, and we are going to sit at another table and invite you to come up and introduce yourselves so we can thank you for playing and sign anything that you might, sign any Destiny keepsakes that you might be carrying around with you. So we hope we'll see you there. If you're not here in the building and you're watching at home, we will see you in the Dreaming City. Thank you so much. Thanks to Steve Cotton.
Thank you.
Mallory Schleif, Andrew Hops, and Tom Farnsworth. It's been our pleasure.
I'm finally
DeeJ from Bungie.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us as your guests.